Okay, welcome back to the channel, guys. So this is our final chest and back night for week 8. And I want to talk a little bit about zone 2 cardio versus zone 1 and whatever. So for those of you who don't know how to figure out what your heart rate is supposed to be, if you take 220 and then minus your age, that's going to be like your maximum heart rate. And if you figure out what 70 to 80% of that's going to be zone 2 cardio. Anything below that is zone 1. Anything above that is it's pretty hardcore to keep your heart rate that high for a duration of time. So for me, if I look at my zone 2, it's between 130 beats per minute and 150 beats per minute. So I like to stay on the low end of that, which is 130. And that roughly, according to all the calculators, puts me at about 125 calories for every 10 minutes I spend with my heart rate that accelerated. I don't know if it matters what cardio you're doing, treadmill, bike, Stairmaster, or whatever, but I personally feel like the harder movements like the Stairmaster, you get more out of it. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I think just getting your heart rate up is the most important thing, but I think there is something to be said for the amount of difficulties that you have during certain movements and the amount of exertion that you put out for it. Like, I just feel like the Stairmaster burns more calories than walking on the treadmill or a light jog. But that's just me, my personal belief. But I might be wrong. I don't know the science behind it to argue it, to really put out a good debate. But that's what I feel.
Well, if that is the case, like if I were to do the math on it and everything, I'm pretty sure my percentage, 70 to 80% or whatever it would be, would probably supposed to be a little bit less than what you have for your 70 to 80. And I well exceed that because just doing the Stairmaster right now, I was around like 150 to 160. So maybe I need to bump it down a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I keep mine around like 130. It's between 128 and 134. 132 is what my heart rate normally stays at on level 4 for the Stairmaster. Now, the difficulties for the Stairmasters all vary depending on the model and the make of it and stuff like that. But my Stairmaster at level 4 is pretty intense, and that's what I like to run it at. And my heart rate gets up pretty easy, and it stays there consistent the whole time. It might spike up a little bit to like 136, 137, and it comes right back down to like 130, 132, 128, but it's roughly around that area. And I do 20 minutes in the morning like that, then I do another 10 minutes after my workout, and then I do 10 to 15 minute walks while I'm at work. And with that amount of cardio right there, with 4 sessions a day, 2 more on the upper end of intensity and 2 on like the lower range of it, I'm noticing differences in my body every single day. It's not, it's almost like overnight right now. Like every morning I wake up, I can see difference in my body, but also I'm finally getting down to a low enough body fat percentage that every couple ounces makes a big difference in my physique and where I can see that versus whenever I was so heavy, like even losing 4 or 5 pounds, like I couldn't see it. I couldn't even feel it. But now, like, I'm starting to see it because I'm getting lean and the body only has so many places that can hide it now. So whenever it takes it from it, I notice it.
Yeah. But like I said, with the cardio for me, like I've been doing it on level 4 as well for the Stairmaster, but I just started that like a week or 2 ago, and it was taking me a little bit to be able to do a full 10 minutes at that level. But I'm able to get there now, but it's definitely a struggle. I have to do some like leaning on the top a little bit after a few minutes, but I'll continue to get better at that. I might need to bump it down though, depending on what my heart rate should be, I guess in more of like a better range. I might be putting a little bit too much tax on that. So maybe I'll bump it down to 3 and see where that's at. But as far as like losing the weight goes, I'm definitely coming down, and it's taken me less time during the week itself to start moving back towards my end of the week weight, because usually on Mondays, like you have for the same thing, like my weight kind of jumps back up a little bit, but then as the week goes on, it comes back down. And like today I was Monday I was back up to say like around 271, 272, and now I'm already sitting around like 270, just over 270. So by tomorrow, I'll probably be more in like the 260s again. To hit this weekend, I'll be back down to probably a little less than 267, which is where I was at Sunday. So
Yeah, my weight does that too. Like every Monday, Tuesday, my weight's up, then it starts to fall back down, and then come the weekend, my weight's back way down, lower than what it was the previous week. It cycles like that. I don't know if it's because I'm off on Saturday and Sunday, and I lay around Sundays and rest and don't do as much work or cardio or weightlifting, and my body retains more fluid or whatever. I'm not sure what the reason is, but I know right now it's because I'm getting more sodium and more carbs on Sunday, so I know the reason why my weight was up this weekend. But with that being said, too, as far as it goes for cardio, like I think the best cardio is the one that you would do. With that being said, like I like the Stairmaster, and that's my favorite version of it, of cardio. I used to like running, but now running, it hurts my foot. Like I hurt something in my foot almost 2 years ago, and something popped in my foot. I never went to the doctor for it, but I'm pretty sure I broke something in it because I could barely walk. I couldn't put any pressure, and I had to walk on my heel. And I couldn't, it was right around the pinky toe, just the bone below the pinky toe and on the outside of the foot. And I couldn't put any pressure or any weight on it for about 3 months. And it hurt excruciatingly bad, and should have went to the doctor, but I didn't. It took me a long time for my foot to heal up, but I just kind of dealt with it. So now running is kind of not an option anymore because of that. And also running starts hurting my knees. I like the exercise bike, but that starts hurting my back from being in that position for too long. And walking's cool too, but I just never really felt like walking was enough to be more intensive cardio. Don't get me wrong, I think walking is a very, very great cardio, and something is better than nothing. And the best cardio is the one that won't hurt you. It doesn't cause any damage to your joints or body, or doesn't leave you aching and sore the next day. And it doesn't make you miserable while you're doing it. But for me, like I just feel like I get the most out of the Stairmaster. And then here's the thing too about hurting. If you're in any kind of pain with any movement you're doing, whether you're walking, jogging, cardio, or weightlifting, don't keep pushing through that, because chances are there's something wrong. So if you're experiencing pain, generally speaking, the pain is not coming from where you're feeling the pain. It's normally coming from somewhere else. You normally have a different issue, and it could be one of three things. It could be many things, but the normal number three causes is you either have an imbalance and you have an overworked muscle and an underdeveloped muscle, and they're pulling against each other, and it's causing some type of shift in the joint or in the area of the nerve. You have impingement, which something's locked up and tight like a vertebrae or something, and you need to get to release it and get it to relax so you can let that nerve go, and that nerve is being pinched and it's causing pain. Or three, you have tight muscles, which is also pulling on the joint or pulling on the nerve, which whenever you put it through that range of motion, it pulls the nerve and puts stress on it, which causes it to get aggravated and then send pain signals. So normally whenever you feel pain somewhere, it's not where you're feeling it. That's just the end of the nerve. And if you trace it back, you'll be surprised sometimes where your pain's actually coming from. And once you identify where your pain's actually coming from, now you can start correcting it, whether you have to strengthen up certain muscles and back off of others, or you need to relax and do some deep tissue massage work and get those muscles to release, or you need to get some of your vertebrae or your joints adjusted and popped and seek out chiropractic or decompression. So keep that in mind if you're experiencing any kind of pain. Like, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road. It just means that there's something going on and you have to figure out what it is. And I'm going to do a more detailed video about this later on this weekend, explaining what I do to kind of help prevent from getting hurt. And then when I do start feeling a little kinks and knots, then I can kind of make adjustments and stuff. And there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. Like, being hurt's like, oh, my knee's bothering me today. That's hurt. Oh, my elbow's hurting me today. That's being hurt. Being injured is when something snaps, cracks, pops, tears, rips, and then you are down for the count. And there's no like, oh, let me work through it. That's not an injury. That's just being hurt. And there's a big difference between injury and hurt. And knowing the difference is how you know if you can work through it, or if it's a simple fix is finding what's wrong and then correcting it yourself, like maybe even through corrective stretching and stuff. So just keep that in mind no matter what y'all are doing. If y'all experience anything like that, that's a little nugget of advice and stuff. So
yeah, like for me, like mobility is something that I've been needing to work on a lot for a long time, especially on my lower body more than anything, like my legs and knees and stuff like that. Because I have, like when we did do squats and stuff, my stance was always very wide, my feet angled out very far, because if I straighten my foot up, I'm not able to extend down like I'm supposed to. My knees would kind of knock together. So that's definitely something I want to continue working on
that's your
and
hip
getting
abductors.
better, because I want to be able to just have more of a fluid movement and not have to like angle my feet so much. Because even now with like the hack squats and stuff like that we do, I have trouble. Like if I try to keep my feet straight, it puts a lot more stress on my knee while doing the movement. So I have to continue working at that for, I'm not even sure how long I'll have to work on it to get it to where I just have that more easy fluid motion again.
Well, that's generally either like one, you kind of have flat feet, so you need to work on building up your arches. Two, you have poor ankle mobility, and then three, you have weak hip flexors and weak hip adductors, and that's what allows the knee to buckle in. Like the knee follows the foot, so if the foot caves in, the knee is going to cave inwards. If the foot flexes out, the knee is going to follow it and push out. And if you have weak hip flexors, then it's not going to be able to keep up with the direction or the load that you're putting on it. And depending on which position you put your knee, depending on the position of your foot and your ankle, it's depending if you're going to get a shearing pain in your knee from it being out of track or out of alignment, or if you're going to get a pain in your hip, or if your adductors are going to be overworked and cause pain. So it's a chain effect, right? Everything's connected, and it's a series of events that cause issues and stuff. But the best thing you could do is like what you've been doing and working on your feet and trying to get your feet from being so flat and build your arches back up, because that's the number one reason your foot goes flat, which lets your ankle collapse inward, which pulls your knee inwards, which allows your hips to dip because your abductors can't handle the load, and it causes your knees to buckle inwards. And it's a whole mess of stuff that needs to be corrected. But once you start fixing the main cause of issue, everything else is going to get in line and it's going to follow through. And it starts by addressing the problem and getting it fixed, not ignoring it and pushing through it, or trying to find a way to like just ignore it. And you can do that, and you can find a way to work around pain and injury. And I've done that many times, working around things that hurt or are sore or tore up. But the best thing that you can do is figure out how to fix that issue first. Work around it if you can, and then address it while you're still working around it. And that way you could go back to lifting the way that you want to lift and not have to like pigeonhole yourself and hold yourself back from the movements that you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that's like my legs and stuff like that. I want to continue correcting those, because it's definitely something that in the long run of things, most of the lifts come through the legs. Or just in everyday movements or whatever. Most of it's done through the legs. So I want to continue working on that, because eventually it's just going to continue to get worse if I don't actively try to make it better. So like that's definitely one of the big things that I try and work on as much as I can when not in the gym. You know, yeah.
Yeah, no, I got you. And stretching is a big thing too, man. Like doing corrective stretching and stuff like that, and making sure you're staying loose and limber and everything. And there's a lot of little things outside the gym that you need to do to be able to keep you healthy for inside the gym. Like even working on your posture, sitting in the car, sitting in the chair, sitting at your computer. There's so many things that you can do to work on your posture, which will help work on your body, because a lot of times you can mess yourself up outside the gym by the way you sit or stand or hold your body position and not even realize that you're messing yourself up. Then when you get in the gym, that's when you start noticing things are hurting. Like if you take like, let's say like a Honda Civic, and you drive 45 miles per hour every single day back and forth to work, and then all of a sudden one day you take it out on the freeway and you're going 120. Well, if anything's wrong with your car, you're going to find out real quick at 120 miles per hour. You can get away with a lot of things being wrong with your vehicle at 30, 40 miles per hour. But once you get to those higher end speeds, if there's anything wrong with your front end, you're going to find out real quick. And it's the same basic concept. So like whenever people are outside the gym and they're not doing nothing and they're just sitting around, they end up sitting in uncompromised positions, and then they end up getting knotted up or tight or shifted, or they just get all like bound up and they don't correct those positions. And then when they get in the gym, they start flooring their body, things start kind of revealing themselves like, ooh, ow, pain, But like I said, I'm going to go over a lot of this, and I'm going to make a video this week and then go over a lot of this and stuff like that and show what I do for a lot of my issues that I have are built up and over the years. So
yeah, that'll be good.
I think that's going to be it for me on this one. Is there anything else you want to add? Or
sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys watching and stopping by and checking us out. So just remember, when you're in that gym, no agony, no braggony.
Yep. Check you later.